recognize the backdrop? I'm home. My dog is so happy. I'm happy. Now, producer Stanton is in Louisiana with his family. So, it's 10 o'clock for him. That's late. So we're gonna do our show. But I'm hoping that, it'll be 11 o'clock for him when we're done. So a big, big, big thank you to producer Stanton, because usually the last couple of weeks I've been the one an hour behind him all the way in Miami. But I'm home now and delighted. And it has been the week that was. Now, last time I saw you beautiful people wasn't a full week ago. It was Sunday night. And Sunday night, we did the show. And it was just a goofy, wonderful little thing because I was in Miami. I love seeing all of your names pop up. Hi, Tom. By the way, your cutting board is like a part of my life. Tom made a cutting board for my birthday. He's one of the 330s. So, hi, Susie Alvarez. So, I was in Miami last week, and on Sunday night, I just decided to have a little impromptu, jazz and hang and sing jam, not jazz, jam with my good friend Bob Bonin. And I'm super grateful that you guys gave Bob's singing, and he's really good, so much love. So do me a favor, you guys, listen to last week's show because it was just goofy and totally not the regular talk of our times. I touched lightly on the verdict, and I'm going to touch lightly on it again tonight. Don't want to dwell on it. Here's the good news. Good news is that my neighborhood was boarded up and everybody was braced, and that didn't, nothing. We're good. And in fact, it's quite the opposite. They opened an amoeba, which isn't an amoeba. It's a record store in Los Angeles. It's a media store. Oh, Susie Alvarez just said Bob was great. Bob is great. So I have to get, I was fighting that sneeze and now it's done. And this show is live because when you're on the radio, you have a cough button, but there's no sneeze button on the iPhone. So here we are. So last Sunday, I touched lightly on the verdict. We battened down the hatches here in Hollywood. I landed to a boarded up neighborhood and nothing. And then they opened an amoeba. An amoeba is a media store, predominantly records, lots and lots of vinyl, all media, lots of DVDs. You find obscure foreign films. Amoeba used to be on the corner of Sunset and almost Vine, but not quite. Ivar, couldn't remember. Like it matters, like you're going. Doesn't matter. It moved. It used to be over there, but now it's literally across the street from me. It's on Hollywood and Argyle. Like you go out my building, there's Amoeba. And there's been a line to get into Amoeba since it opened. Just from morning till night, there's a line. People want creativity. They want artistry. They want media. They want music. They want whatever. They're going in there to get it. Doesn't sell books. Maybe a few, but not many. Anyway, so the fact that Amoeba's open, to me, that's like spring. It's like flowers coming through the dirt. Seeing people in line at Amoeba is like seeing a garden, except instead of popping up flowers, it popped up humans. And that makes me really happy. Because there's always a line at the Funko store, but I don't understand Funko. I don't understand why people stand in line for little toys in a box. But there's always a line at the Funko store. So last week, Talk of Our Times was just a goofy little sing-along, kind of touch on things. So I'm going to work the week backwards. This was my favorite story, and I just pulled it today because I pull stories all week long. Like, as soon as I part from you guys, as soon as we leave each other, I start thinking about you again. I start thinking about Talk of Our Times. I start thinking about when I'm on the road, how interesting it's going to be to do Talk of Our Times with different vibes. Like last week, totally different vibe. Week before that, we couldn't even do a show until Monday because I had shows Saturday and Sunday. So whatever it takes, I'm here because you guys keep showing up as well. So here is the story out of the Washington Post today. I love this story so much. A hiker was lost and desperate. A stranger with an unusual hobby saved him. Now, this happened here in California. And I'm just going to say, there's been a lot of issues with isms, as Ferris Bueller says. I don't believe in isms and racism. So the person that got lost was a white guy. He got lost. He was hiking, and you can see by his shoes, he's got expensive shoes, 45 years old. And so here it is. When Rene Campion snapped a photo of his soot-stained legs hanging over a steep cascade of rocks, he feared it was the last picture he'd ever take. He was hopelessly lost while hiking in Southern California and thought he might die. Now, he was in the Angeles National Forest. I know it well. Not that I've ever hiked in it. I've driven by it. Like, no. Mountain lions, bears, and snakes. Oh my. I hike Griffith Park. I want to make sure there's lots and lots of people around stomping and making noise. So all the little aminals, except the sweet ones. I don't mind a raccoon. And one time I had a coyote. I had a stare down with a coyote, but not really a stare down because I heard you're not supposed to stare them down. It's a dominance thing. So I'm hiking Griffith Park. Coyote comes out. Lone coyote. By the way, scary looking. And they're not that small. They're pretty big. They're like a big dog. And the coyote looks at me like, there's a lot of meat on those legs. I mean, I don't think, he wasn't articulating it that way, but he was thinking it in his coyote way, like, those are drumsticks. That's Puerto Rican drumsticks. That's spicy. Not quite dark meat, but a little spicy. And I didn't turn my back. I backed up and walked away from the coyote backwards without really looking at the coyote. But that's the scariest thing that's ever happened to me hiking. That's it. And I'm pretty sure 2 or 3 or 5 more minutes, there would have been other hikers coming up the hill because Griffith Park's always relatively busy. But this dude, okay, he was just trekking around Angeles National Forest, like la la la, and decided to go to a new place, right? He thought it was going to be a 2-hour outing. Didn't we learn anything from Gilligan's Island? A 3-hour cruise, a 3-hour cruise. Like, no, don't deviate. This is exactly what it says. It says, Campion, that's his last name, Compean. I think that's probably French, Campion, had trekked through the Angeles National Forest trails more times than he could count, he said, but after venturing along a new path, bad idea by yourself. Did he not see that movie by James Franco with James Franco in it that we've referenced on this show several times? I think it's like 147 hours or something. He lost his way. Several hours into the solo hike, after many failed attempts to get his bearings and the temperature dropping, he climbs up to this tall hill. He's got one bar. He's standing on the edge of a precipice, takes a picture of his sooty legs and texts it to 2 friends, and it doesn't even look like the text went through, right? SOS, my phone is going to die. I'm lost. Campion texted a friend. It was a picture of his legs. And they're like all sooty, and he's wearing these bright blue sneakers. Well, here's what happened. LA County Sheriffs, are you an avid hiker in the Mount Waterman area? So they post the picture of his legs, right? And just say, hey, if anybody knows what this rock formation in this area could possibly be, because they knew recognizing the legs wasn't going to help anybody. But Ben Kuo, Kuo, Asian guy, all right? I'm telling you this for a reason. Was working at his home about 60 miles away in Ventura County, California, when he stumbled upon the tweet from the sheriff's department with the photo of the legs. This is an amazing story. It's just legs. The sheriff's search and rescue team had already spent the previous night unsuccessfully looking for him. So this guy's up on the mountain in tank top. I'm telling you, this guy wanted to die. He wanted to die. Because I'm here to tell you, when I hike, I always tie a windbreaker around my waist, even though it's a pain. Because in California, the temperature changes like mercurial. Like mercurial is the only word. In fact, when I first moved here from Florida, because Florida is very balmy, like the sun can go down and the temperature drops 5 degrees. Like it goes 85, 80, and there's plenty of humidity. The nights in Florida are so balmy and delicious. Like your face always feels like, oh, I'm getting younger and younger. That's why old people move to Florida. But you know what? By the time they get there, it's too late. Balmy weather, not going to help. But I think that's why they do it. So the sheriff's search and rescue, they point the picture. Sergeant John Gilbert said that they figured that he was at about 7,000 elevation. So there's blasts of wind. It was cold. This guy's in a tank top and shorts, lost in the woods at night. All right. We didn't have any information that he was adequately prepared. No, he wasn't. So Quo, 47, inspected the image and thought, I bet I could find that spot. Quo works in the tech industry. Now, I know what you're thinking. Stereotype. Not necessarily, because this is his hobby. But he is also an amateur radio operator. How cool is that? That's usually like Breaker 19, this year's Rubber Duck. But no, Quo, who works in the tech industry, is an amateur radio operator. And for several years, as a hobby, he has used his Twitter account to alert the public about natural disasters. How cool is that? He regularly examines satellite imagery to identify and track local fires. This guy's just a regular, like, do-gooder. He's a good Samaritan. His hobby is gathering information to help other people. Hey, Almost London's on tonight. That's our friend Elena. And actually, I wish I had put it nearby, but I didn't expect Elena to join us. Elena, when I reached the 1 year of the 330, she sent me a flower arrangement that required a bell cart from the first floor. Like, it's the biggest flower arrangement I've ever seen outside of a hotel lobby. And I've been saving the flowers, saving. Here we are 3+ weeks later, and there's 2 orchid shoots in a vase. I was going to hold them up and say, here they are, still alive and beautiful. But alas, they're out of camera reach, and I'm not going to stand up. So let me get back to Quo. All right, and here's the picture of Quo. Does he not look like a good Samaritan? Like, look at this guy. Does he not look like the sweetest thing going? I love this guy. I really, really do. 47, he looks young. They always say black don't crack, and I always say brown is down. I'm just going to add yellow is mellow. Like, look at that face. He looks 22. Guy's 47. Quo, 47, inspected the image and thought, I bet I could find that spot. So he has another unusual pastime. I have always loved looking for where photos are taken. Hello? Quo said he frequently tries to identify where movie scenes and television shows or commercials were filmed. He's often successful. I love this guy. So when he came across the blurry image of Compion's legs, there's no Wi-Fi, he's surrounded by endless landscape of rocks and vegetation. He instinctively pulled up a satellite map. Since the sheriff's department said Compion's car was found near Buckhorn Campground, he narrowed his search to the surrounding area. There's an amazing amount of information you can get from satellites. You think? Said Quo, who is also a hiker. Talk about the perfect storm. When people say, like, oh, 1 in a million chances, or that'll never happen. This is like winning the life lottery. This guy is freezing his exposed testicles off. I mean, he might be wearing underwears, but in short shorts with those strong blasts of wind, it's getting right through. I'm sorry. So this guy's up there in the mountains. And so Quo is a hiker. He works in the tech. He's a good Samaritan. He has an extra pastime of trying to figure out, where things are shot. He gives information to people to help them with fires and issues in the hiking areas. The first thing he noticed in the picture were patches of greenery. I realized he's not going to be on the south side because there's not really any green valleys on the north side. Boom, he figured it out. He's on this side. That finding tightened his search considerably and helped him zero in on one area that closely resembled the terrain. The final step was cross-referencing with Google Earth. He shared a screenshot of the satellite imagery on Twitter and called the sheriff's department. After vetting the findings in relation to the information they were about to glean about Compion's whereabouts, we felt pretty confident that Ben's information was good. Guess what? They sent a helicopter based on Ben Quo's info. Fortunately for Compion, he was right on. Quo was right on. Okay? Can you imagine? More than a full day after he went missing, the rescuers found him less than a mile from Quo's predicted coordinates. It was very gratifying that he was saved, Quo said. That's on Quo's side. Like, hey, I'm so glad this guy got rescued. Are you kidding me? Ben's help allowed us to get to that location much sooner than we probably would have and made a gigantic difference in finding him. For Compion, who had spent 27 hours alone in the wilderness, hearing the vibrating helicopter blades brought him to tears. He said that the night before he had slept with sharp sticks and pointed rocks because he'd already seen a bear and 2 mountain lions. I don't think so. He said, I didn't want to give up, adding that he kept trying to climb higher to make himself more visible. I didn't know if I would make it another day. Here's your answer. Probably not, because I probably would have fallen trying to get to a higher peak. He yelled for help over and over. So now they've met. They Zoomed. Now they're going to set up to meet in person. He said, I owe you my life to Ben Quo. He's an auto mechanic. You know how cool it is to rescue an auto mechanic? You know how hard it is to find an auto mechanic? Hello. I'm going to tell you right now, Ben Quo's car will be fixed for the rest of his life. He's not going to give him any BS estimates and go, well, I think you need a new flux capacitor. No. It's going to be like amazing. And you know what? I think they're going to become friends. I love the outdoors and I won't let anything deter me. But maybe, and they're saying maybe they'll even go on a hike together. Above all, though, I'm so lucky that Ben did what he did, and I'm thankful to be alive. The reason why I'm saying that is because all we ever hear is divisive stories about this person did this, and they have to emphasize that it's this type of person or that type of person. And here you have humans, hikers, Californians, helping each other out, doing a good thing. One happened to be a literally misguided white guy, and the other one happened to be an incredibly benevolent, kind, good Samaritan Asian guy. And I love the way it came together. He happened to see the tweet. He happened to have all of these skill sets. And that story wasn't even a big story. Obviously, with the news cycle that we're in, they would much rather pin you with information and talk about all the divisiveness. And to me, every moment we're alive is an opportunity to get whole, to heal, to bring something together. Every moment you're alive is an opportunity to get whole, W-H-O-L-E, and your particular brand of whatever you think is holy and divine. And I absolutely love that this story is about 2 men who came together under the most challenging of circumstances, are now friends, are probably going to hike together, and are very different men from very different backgrounds. One is an auto mechanic. One is in the tech industry. But we're all human. And we're really much more alike than we are different. And I don't understand why people aren't having those conversations, why they're having other conversations. These are the conversations that I'm going to continue to have with you guys because you get it. You totally get it, or you wouldn't be here. You know? So, I mean, you hear a story. I'm just going to show you the difference between information and inflammation. By the way, so that producer Stanton doesn't think I ignore him, tap likes, ring the bell, join, ask friends to join. Bring more people here. We have inflammation, not inflammation, right? Right here it is. I don't even look at the story. What's the top headline right now? Right now on my on my news, on my iPhone news, whatever, Apple News, whatever. I don't even know what it's called. For you, recommended topics. Evidently, they don't know me. Radio host fired over racist tweet about Derek Chauvin verdict. Headline: I'm talking about a tweet that saved a man's life and brought two very different men together. Is that a headline? No. I had to look for that story, but not here. Front and center. All right. Another good story. Because that's what we're doing today. We're having fun. We're telling good stories. I love this story. Are you ready for this? A man won $2 million from a scratch-off lottery ticket after losing everything in a flood. I'm just smiling into the camera. First of all, something about Lost in the Flood. There's a Bruce Springsteen song called Lost in the Flood. Great song. I'm pretty sure it's off of Greetings from Asbury Park. Great song. It's about a Vietnam vet. And it's very esoteric, but I'm pretty sure it's about a Vietnam vet. And also the flood, biblical, 40 days, Noah, very important story. And when I started the 3:30, I said I was going to do the 3:30 for 40 days. Ha! I'm now week 3 of year 2. So it's 362 days plus 22. That's a lot. Like I'm almost at 385 days in a row. And going. The 29-year-old man who decided to stay anonymous, bought the ticket at a grocery store in Midland. All right. So he was in Michigan. Last year, I lost everything in a flood. So to win this prize is so overwhelming. He had never played the $20 ticket, but he stopped to pick up some things for his kids. See, it's always intention, intention, intention. When I saw I had a match, I thought, great, I won my money back. He was just scratching and saw one number and said, oh, at least I didn't lose the 20. I was having a little fun while I got out here to get some things for my kid. Oh, guess what? The chance to win 20 out of 2 million, to win 2 million out of 20 remained as of Friday. The man won $10,000 a few years ago and thought this was his once in a lifetime shot. Now he's $1.3 million richer. Can you imagine years ago he won $10,000 and thought, that's it. It's never going to happen again. But hey, I lost everything in a flood. I'm here at the store. I'm going to pay a $20 ticket because there's an opportunity to win $2 million with the $20. I'm just, what the heck, right? Knowing the kids will be taken care of. See, it's never about you. It's always about your loved ones because love is a mirror. We're going to get back to that in a minute. The Matrix. Knowing my kids will be taken care of is the best feeling in the world. That was all he cared about. He got a one-time lump sum, and he plans to pay bills and save the remainder. So the one lump sum after the taxes was $1.3 million. Yeah, that'll take care of your kids pretty good, especially in Michigan. Cost of living, not so high. So the reason why I said it's never about you is because after my, I don't know how many watchings of The Matrix, but every time I watch it, I see something new. And how much do we love the Oracle? Love the Oracle. If you haven't seen the movie, I don't spoil anything by talking about the Oracle, but she's very cool. And she says to Neo, I can see why she thinks you're cute. And then Neo says, who? Not too bright. Oh, such a good line. And also, I love when she says, I hate giving bad news to good people. And then she offers him a cookie, a warm cookie. That's a perfect Oracle. She gives you everything you need to know, speaks in riddles, and hands you a warm cookie on the way out the door. But what I gleaned from it, more than any other watching, is that we really are, for lack of a better term, a brain in a black universe. We're programmed. And we're programmed by our families, and we're programmed by religion, and we're programmed, and not good faith. Faith and religion are not always the same thing. So I'm all for faith-based. I think you guys understand that about me now. And You know, it's just that programming. It's like me, you know, I know Kung Fu. And, you know, we know a lot of things that are not Kung Fu that maybe don't serve us. I had a girlfriend today that's going to an Oscar party tomorrow. I'm not, but I'm not like a big boo-hooer about it. Because I'm pretty sure if you go to an Oscar party, you have to wear Spanx. I'm not up for Spanx yet. I understand that the world is reopening and that there's dining indoors and amoebas open, but I'm not ready for that, the super dressing up part. I mean, let's be honest, we spent a year in like loose clothing and some of us in sweatpants and some of us outright porky pigging it. I love that. I love saying porky pigging it because I didn't even know what that meant till somebody told me they were porky pigging it. And I said, what the heck does that mean? And they said, Porky Pig wears like amazing clothes from here up. He's got a little jacket, a bow tie. He's like da 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 da. But he's not wearing anything. He's got a breeze down there. So from the waist down, nada. So evidently a lot of people do Zooms, Porky Pigging it just for the thrill, just because they can, just because their coworkers don't know. It's a secret little weird thing. Like, you know, back in the day, people used to streak with sunglasses on. It was a thing, streaking. People, in fact, tomorrow are the Oscars. Somebody actually, I don't think that the past tense of streaking is struck, although it could say that the streaker struck. There was streaking at an Oscar performance in the 70s. And I believe it was David Niven who said that the gentleman had shown his shortcomings. So, see how I tied that all together? But my girlfriend is going to an Oscar party tomorrow. And she came over because I've got lots of girl stuff to borrow some girl stuff. And she was just saying, you know, I feel goofy. And because I took some pictures of her so she could see how the outfits looked, you know. And she was like, I don't like taking my picture. I look goofy. I'm this and that. I'm like, cut it out. You look beautiful. You're already good. Like, there's only better. Like, yeah, you're going to get your hair done. Yeah, you're going to put Spanx on. Yeah, you're going to get makeup. But you're all good now. You're fine. You're lovely. But see, that's part of that. I know Kung Fu. I know I'm not as pretty as other girls. Take that out. Not true. All right. This is a great story. All right. Construction workers accidentally discovered a pair of priceless lost Renaissance frescoes. How do you lose Renaissance frescoes? It's not like leaving your purse in a restaurant. I mean, it's a wall fresco. All right. While working on an extensive restoration project at the world-renowned Uffizi Gallery in Florence, a couple of construction workers happened upon two Renaissance-era treasures. A pair of frescoes depicting none other than Duke Ferdinando I de' Medici and his son, Duke Cosimo II de' Medici, both of whom ruled over Florence in the 16th and 17th centuries, respectively. Not respectfully, they could have been very disrespectful in their respective ruling, but nobody's talking about how well they ruled, just that frescoes were done of them. The two long-lost portraits had been covered up by plaster. So that leads me to believe somebody didn't like them. If you plaster over somebody's face, you don't like them so much. That's the equivalent. That's the Renaissance equivalent of cutting somebody out of your picture. Or now, we don't even have to cut them out of the picture. You just crop them. You just edit them right out on your phone. Do you know how many people I've edited out of my pictures on my iPhone? Not that many, really. But anyway, the two long-lost portraits had been covered up by plaster sometime during the 18th century. It's a long time ago, which is not unusual during that period of time. I don't know. I think it's pretty unusual to plaster over a portrait. The Uffizi, which translates to offices in Italian, was originally built for the Medici family to house additional workspaces for the Florentine magistrates. So that was kind of like a WeWorks back in the day. Like they already had these giant palaces to hang out and work in. I'm going to take a sip of tea. My throat's a spot dry. And by the way, I do have my Coca-Cola Zero, but I haven't opened it. But I have it at the ready. So they had an additional workspaces for Florentine magistrates. The uncovered portrait of the young Cosimo stands in the west wing over an archway in one of the rooms formerly used as a government office. Now that proves to me somebody didn't like that. No, didn't like him. Thank you, Amos. What a nice thing to say about me. For those of you who didn't see the comment pop up, he said, I'm too pretty to be sitting here alone. So nice. But the fact that the picture is over an archway, like, oh, dry lake skinny dipping. Oh, that's funny, Jose. Jose Ortiz is quite the cut up. He's a funny guy and he's pretty young, but I have a feeling that when he gets older, he's going to be sort of a modern day version of a dirty old man. But he's got a ways to go before that happens. And I'm sure Jose understands I say that completely tongue in cheek. So, see, I'm telling you, this proves something to me. It stands in the west wing over an archway in one of the rooms formerly used as a government office with the portrait of Duke Ferdinando a few doors down. Thought to be the work of prolific Florentine fresco painter Bernardino Pochetti. I love Italian names, Pochetti. The young Cosimo is depicted in full length with female figures at his feet, allegorizing his conquest over the nearby city of Siena. This guy was a Renaissance Me Tooer. Before I even started reading it, I was like, who plasters over somebody? Why are we trying to get rid of this guy historically? I'll tell you why. Because anybody who gets his portrait painted depicting the allegorical conquest of a neighboring city with female figures at your feet, that's what I say. Italians have a really dirty gesture they do. I won't do the real dirty one, but this one's pretty bad. This one's pretty bad. The precious frescoes were uncovered from the sheet of plaster during the ambitious Nuovi of Uffizi project, which means new offices, which plans to add over 21,000 square feet of space to the museum, freeing up a total of 43 additional rooms and adding numerous new pathways. The expansive restoration has also proven to be a continuous treasure hunt. I'm sure they're going to find all kind of people plastered over and people saying like, okay, these are, I don't know how you say douchebag in Italian. I'm not certain. But the beauty is that things sort of, I call it de-jujuing, like the cooties come off of things over time and then it just goes back to being art. I'm going to tell you guys a real true story. And I don't know why, because it's embarrassing to me. But we're friends, so what the heck. Many years ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I dated a young man who had a drinking problem. And I don't like alcohol, and especially the way people behave. I come from a family of people that don't always have the best of habits, so I'm extremely sensitive. I realize that. I'm not judgmental. I don't care what other people do. I just don't like it in my personal space. So there was a rule that if this person consumed too much alcohol, they couldn't come over to my house. And if they came over to my house at that tipping point where the alcohol hadn't hit yet and they fooled me, then they would have to sleep on the couch. That was just the rule. I don't like intoxicated people in my close proximity. So after, the relationship went on for a while and the person slept on my couch quite a bit. But I loved the couch, loved it. So after we parted company, I took the couch to my storage unit and set it on its side because you could do that without damaging the arms. As a matter of fact, it's the couch I'm sitting on. And I've had it recovered since then, completely. But before I even bothered to get it recovered, it was sitting in my storage unit on its side for 2 years so that it could be dejujued, so that like all the vibe of all of that sleeping on the couch and everything it implied could be off of it before I even took it to get reupholstered. Because I do think there's energy on things. So this medieval Me Tooer, he was plastered over. But now enough time has passed that we can just go see it as a thing of beauty. And I do like, you know, museums and old museums. And the De Medicis were patrons of the arts and were involved with Michelangelo. So, you know, how bad could they be? Now, this is a story that's going to be near and dear to Professor Stanton. See, Stanton, I just gave you a promotion. Producer Stanton. SpaceX Crew 2 reaches orbit with Elon Musk's company launching 10 astronauts in under a year. Wow. That's why he's the richest man in the world, because he's a visionary. He's not just a selfish, greedy, you know, individual. Sometimes you want to say words, but you just let them go. You just let them hang in the ether. You know, Jeff Bezos, he's Gru. But Elon Musk, you know, he's a bubble off a plum, no doubt. But he's a genius. Like all people that are that visionary are a little, but he's in a good way. SpaceX launched a group of astronauts for NASA early on Friday morning, with Elon Musk's company now having sent 10 astronauts to space in under a year. The Crew 2 mission, the company's second operational crew launch for NASA and its third to date. Like, how cool is that? Like, he's just like, hey, I'm a private citizen, but I have a whole lot of money, like a whole lot. And I'm very interested in the space program because it had lots and lots of benefits other than just sticking it to the Ruskies. Although that was, you know, a nice little sidebar. But that wasn't what it was all about. Like, you know, when I was a little kid, the space race was a real thing. People were excited about it. They talked about it. They didn't talk about race issues. They talked about the space race, different race discussion, good race discussion. Okay. It was positive. It was a unifying factor. See, what do we all have in common? We live on Earth. So when you're talking about space, it makes it a lot easier to find what you have in common, which is we're not in space. We're on Earth. We're human. I remember watching the moon landing in July of 1969. I actually have an album in my vinyls over there that's like the whole thing on records with the whole, like, you know, people in Houston talking and Walter Cronkite, like the whole thing. I've got it on vinyl in a two album set. So the launch marked multiple new firsts. And who doesn't like multiples? Multiple new firsts for SpaceX, with the company reusing both a rocket and a capsule for the mission, as well as surpassing the total number of astronauts launched to space under the Mercury program that began in 1958. How cool is that? 63 years ago. Talk about recycling, you know? Did any of you, of course you did, Hidden Figures. Great movie. All right. Again, that's where you have a discussion about race and space, but it's a good space race conversation. See how I did that? SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule carrying NASA astronauts Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur, Japan's Akihiko Hoshide, I hope I said that right, and Thomas Pesquet of France, is on its way to the International Space Station. The mission is scheduled to dock with the ISS about 24 hours after launch, or about 5:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, tomorrow morning. How cool is that? Actually, it's very, very early in the morning, because if it's 5:10 Eastern Standard on Saturday, it'll be 2:10 in Los Angeles. So just in a couple of hours. We're just glad to be back in space, and we'll send our regards to Crew 1 when we get there, Kimbrough said, speaking from the spacecraft. By the way, I've been to the Turks and Caicos, where they landed in the Caribbean, and they have one of the capsules. I don't think it's the real one. I think it's a mock-up, because they wouldn't just have the real one sitting out there, you know, in the wind and the rain on an island in the Caribbean. But they're really small. Like the final thing that splashes down in the water, very, very small. Like it's not even the size of a Mini Cooper. Like you're sitting in a very small vehicle hurling through space. It's like a little, you're inside, not a rocket, like a little rock hurling through space that just goes in the water. All right. After the launch, SpaceX also landed the booster of its Falcon 9 rocket, which is the large lower section of the rocket. Thrilled to be part of advancing human spaceflight and looking forward to going beyond Earth orbit to the moon and Mars and helping make humanity a spacefaring civilization, Musk said during a post-launch press conference. You know what? I'm totally with him. A spacefaring? Like we used to think back. The Vikings were like, it's going to be rough getting across the ocean. And then they discovered stars and the sextant. And then they were just like, yeah, no problem. There's Cassiopeia. Good to go, you know? But back in the day, that seemed incredibly daunting. And especially if you believe the Earth was flat, then you're like, oh boy, if I miscalculate the stars, I'm going right over the edge. I haven't historically looked it up to see how close those two thoughts could have come to each other, but you get the point. And then there were, you know, keep going. Automobiles. What? Most of you know by now that I'm semi-obsessed with Downton Abbey. There's a whole bunch of episodes dedicated to the motor. They don't even call it a car. It's the motor. Because the biggest thing about it is that it had a motor. Horses don't have a motor, although they have horsepower. The original horsepower. The green kind. All right. Commercial Crew is a competitive program. NASA also awarded Boeing with $4.8 billion in contracts to develop its Starliner spacecraft, but that capsule remains in development. The private sector guy, Musk, he stepped up much faster. The company provided $3.1 billion to develop the system and launched 6 operational missions. Anyway, so NASA emphasizes that in addition to giving the U.S. a way to send astronauts, this is where we stick the landing. In addition to giving the U.S. a way to send astronauts to space, SpaceX offers the agency a cost-saving option. Cost-saving option. See, that's what happened when you let real people that have something invested that aren't just, dare I say, gold bricking. Okay? This is a guy who wants to get stuff done. SpaceX offers the agency a cost-saving option. The agency expects to pay $55 million per astronaut to fly with Crew Dragon, as opposed to, wait for it, $86 million. That's a savings of $31 million. That's like they bought astronauts at Ross, not even at Marshall's. 31 million savings per astronaut. That's unbelievable. That's a lot of savings. And that's what Elon Musk brings to the table. Let's get it done, dudes. We're not gold bricking here. I'm already the richest guy. Why am I the richest guy? Because I'm in alignment with the way things need to go. They need to be lean and green. You got to be a fast-thinking machine. Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm just going to let you know right now, Producer Stanton has, I think, a man crush on Elon Musk. I'm quickly getting a girl crush on Elon Musk. Having, he put a little smiley face up. Okay, as opposed to $86 million per astronaut to fly with the Russians. I can just hear the Volga boat song in my yo-ho, hee-ho. They're not trying to save us any money. I don't even think they're really trying to help us become a spacefaring people. It doesn't benefit them. NASA last year estimated that having 2 private companies compete for contracts saved the agency $20 to $30 billion in development costs. So good on you, Elon Musk. Good on you. Space race in full effect. And this is a story that made me happy, because it's the opposite of the other story. Now, that's a lot of currency. Somebody pays attention to me. You know, I'm all about the currency. I'm all about the vibes. How much do I love seeing all your names pop up? By the way, I got to meet some people last week at a witness protection gig last Saturday night at Port St. Lucie. I was in a wonderful little golf community, and they put me up in their clubhouse. But I was the first thing they chose to do after they decided to open the clubhouse. So when I got on the radio, they wanted me to do, I did radio, and I had a huge following back in the day in Port St. Lucie, because I used to be on a show with these guys named the Love Doctors, who were huge. They were like wannabe Howard Sterns, and it's been a legacy show. And now their guy Dano took it over, and he was like Helper Boy Dano. Like every radio station has that guy that they make do weird street pranks, and he started out as being, you know, Helper Boy Dano. Just like here we had, I think he's called Crazy Mike or something, was on the Dr. Drew show. You always have like that guy, and Dano was that guy. But now he's taken over the Love Doctor show, and we're still very good friends. And he had me on the radio, and people were calling, and then they were messaging the radio station saying, "No one's answering at the number you're giving. No, but we're trying to buy tickets. We want to see Monique, but we can't. Oh, and the Evite link isn't working properly." Really? Oh, and then on top of that, when you drive up to the golf club, it says on the sign in front, "Opening soon." It doesn't say, "Hey, welcome, Monique. We're going to have a great show." It was literally witness protection. I might as well have been in the back of the Bada Bing. For those of you who don't know, that's the strip club that Tony Soprano operated out of the back. But you know what? The people that were supposed to show up showed up, including Lori. And it was a wonderful night. I had 2 tables full of 330 people and their friends. So it's like I did a private show for our people. All right. And for the record, and I know I'm being recorded by not just Stanton, but I haven't activated Siri, but I'm sure there's all manner of people spying and recording everything we all do. So now doing the 330 is becoming a challenge, because they've changed some interface on Facebook that says, you know, monetize your videos, hit here, stars, agree to this. When do you want to post it? Do you want it deleted after 30 days? It's always like, it used to just be like, hey, I went live, I did my Facebook Live for a year and a week, nada. The last 2 weeks, every time I try to go live, it turns into a Who Shot John. It's very annoying. But, you know, so far I've gotten around it. The reason why I'm telling you this is because just like NASA, that has 2 different people competing, I really am very, very interested in, you know, expanding onto YouTube at 3:30, even if it's not every single day, Instagram, something, because it you know, I can't trust that it's going to keep going as smoothly and easily as it is. So, damn, this is a Caravaggio, the inside story of an old master found in Spain. So, it took all of 6 minutes for Massimo Pullini. It's a lot of Italian art stories today. Thank you, Lori, for was it a fabulous show last Saturday, or is this one a fabulous show? Or are they both fabulous shows in different ways? It took all of 6 minutes for Massimo Pullini to realize that the small oil painting, due to go under the hammer in Madrid earlier this month, with a guide price of between 1,500 euros and 1,300 euros, 1,500 euros, could be worth millions. At 9:48, March 24th, recently, Pullini, a 63-year-old professor at the Bologna Fine Arts Academy. You know what's funny to me? I know there's a city in Italy called Bologna. You know, Bologna. But the fact that it's Bologna, you know what I mean? Like anything coming out of it's like, oh yeah, I work at the Bologna Fine Arts Studio. Is that really fine art, or is it Bologna? You know, is it just like, do you have a lot of Elvis paintings? Do you have a lot of black? Just tell me now. Is there a lot of black velvet Elvis paintings? No, there's Caravaggios. So, and it's a beautiful painting, by the way. I'll hold it up in a second. At 9:48, March 24th, the 63-year-old professor received an email request for an evaluation sent by an antiques dealer and friend of Pellini's. It included a photo of a luminous oil painting of the scourged Christ. Look at this painting. How gorgeous. Wait, let me get it right. Out of the light ring. There you go. How gorgeous is that? Beautiful, right? I'm going to see if I can get it even better. All right, there you go. How gorgeous is that? All right. So gorgeous. At night, that's the full uncropped painting. Word soon spread that what was thought to have been a picture attributed to the circle of 17th century Spanish artists was instead the master, Michelangelo Merisi de Caravaggio. Did I not just mention Michelangelo? So can you imagine how much this thing, it's virtually priceless. And even in the detail, when you close up to Jesus's face, it's freaking gorgeous. Look at that face. So they said, like, yeah, this is a Jesus painting of epic proportions. There was the email had come from Giancarlo Ciarone, the owner of the prestigious Altamani Gallery in Milan, one best known art dealer, blah 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 blah. And so he just sent it and said, "Hey, you think this is legit?" And he's like, "This is super legit." That was exactly what he responded. This is it. Damn, this is a Caravaggio, which means they're like insiders. You know, like when you're friends and you call each other names, like I call producer Stanton. And I used to have a boyfriend in Miami from New York, and he used to call me Marvez. And I would say his name, which I'm not going to say. But we called each other by our last names, even though we were dating, because it was intimate and funny, and that was our nicknames. So, you know, if you're like a tourist, you don't know the drill, you refer to him as Michelangelo. But people in the art world know that his last name is Caravaggio. So, you know, that's how they refer to him. Like Marvez, you know, Caravaggio. So that was what he basically said. Damn, this is a Caravaggio. And it is, which means even though they say it's going to be worth more than the 1,500 euros, it's going to be like pretty much priceless. Look at this painting. This is, oh yeah, he's posting it. Stanton's got it all up there. Thank you, Stanton. How gorgeous is that painting? It's ridiculously beautiful. There's also the very famous one of them holding John the Baptist's head. Anyway, so they found it. It is what it is. And now we know that unlike the Me Too guy with the girls around his feet, this is a beautiful, beautiful thing that's been brought back to light and brought back to life for proper preservation for the ages so that people can go. And whenever we're traveling again, I would like to go and see some of, I've never seen the Sistine Chapel. My father was a huge fan of Michelangelo Caravaggio and did a thesis in college about him. And I would love to go to Italy specifically to see, among other things, the Sistine Chapel. And I loved the book and the movie, The Agony and the Ecstasy. And I'm going to stick the landing now by telling you why art matters, which is why I started this whole thing with conversations about things that unify us as humans. Whether it's we love to hike, or we love movies and want to know where they were shot, or, you know, the space race. All of these things make us who we are as, I don't want to say a species because that sounds so, you know, what's your phylum? But as a civilization, as a humanity, and art, music, creativity. These are the things that draw us together and show us how much more alike we are than different. And obviously we have beautiful works of art from antiquity, and then we have stuff that's not that. long ago, whether it's Charlie Chaplin. Do yourself a favor and look up the greatest speech ever given. It really is the greatest speech ever given. Charlie Chaplin from The Little Dictator. The guy was afraid of talkies. He thought it would be the end of him when he had to talk. Boy, was he wrong. He didn't talk much, but when he did, fantastic. And, you know, art is art. Even the original, I'm going to say this without trying to send producer Stanton into a tailspin, but the original Star Wars. That's it, Stanton. That's the speech. It's brilliant. It's insanely good. Yeah, do yourself a favor and watch that. So here's how I'm going to stick the landing, is that being happy and good and helpful and a good Samaritan and doing what Ben Quo did to save his friend Campion, who wasn't his friend when he saved him. He was just a pair of sooty legs on a ledge. Keeps you young and extends your life. See? The benefit. It's not about you, but ultimately it is about you. That's your programming. You're a brain in a black universe. And when you program to do good, then it extends your life. Michelangelo's life was about art and beautiful paintings. And even though he had problems with some of the popes and some of his patrons, he was the creative of his family. He was the runner, as I like to say. And his family depended on him financially. He supported his family. He did what I call pay a family tax, which is what successful people, when they have to contribute back to their family that hasn't done as well as them, nearly as well as them, whether you're in the NBA or you're an actor or a singer or a painter or a sculptor. Michelangelo was a painter and a sculptor. And, you pay the family tax. You help other people. Just like the guy that won the lottery, the 1.3 million, the 2 million he won, 1.3 payout. It wasn't about, oh, I'm so excited for me. My kids will be taken care of. He didn't even think he was going to win. He just figured as long as there's a shot of winning 2 million, I might as well. And he was happy thinking he just got his $20 back. And bad people are bad people. If you're like to subjugate other people, guess what? They put plaster over you. You just get plastered right over, because that's what should happen. So be a good person, because Michelangelo lived to be 90 years old at a time when people died like at half that age and were sick. But because he did what he did with passion and real desire, and he took care of those around him that he loved, he did his best work from 60 to 90. He did the David after the age of 60. So if you worry about being a late bloomer in this lifetime, in these modern times, you think you lost something because COVID took a year away from you? Please. Michelangelo didn't even get warmed up till he was 60. And then he did the David. The David. It's kind of famous little sculpture. Anyway, so there you go. There you go, beautiful people. We've got all the time in the world to do what we need to do when we do it for all the right reasons. Then we live to be old and we do wonderful things. I promise. I'll see you next Saturday night. But until then, love hard, forgive harder, and get as happy as you can, as fast as you can.